Okay, let's just unpack this. Here's a question that's probably already sitting a little uncomfortably with you. Have all the modern attempts to enforce, equality at all costs, have they actually maybe inadvertently killed that primal spark in relationship?
A polarity.
Exactly. So today, we're diving straight into that fire. We're looking at the, I guess, controversial world of masculine leadership, the power of boundaries, and why a woman's respect seems so tied to a man's ability to just stand his ground.
It's a very delicate conversation for sure, but our mission today is pure, really. We want to reveal the psychological blueprint for deeper, more fulfilling, and just more authentic connections.
Yeah.
This isn't about manipulation or, control. It's about integrity.
Yeah.
We're just looking at the raw reality from the sources you shared.
And look, if this premise alone, just this idea of tension between modern rules and primal needs, if that already touches a nerve for you, just take a second right now, hit that like button. Seriously, that one click tells us this deep dive is hitting home. And, we want to hear your take in the comments before we even get into it.
Okay, so where do we start? I think it has to be with one of the most common pitfalls we found in the literature.
Which is
The nice guy paradox.
the quintessential nice guy. I mean, he seems perfect on paper.
It
Right?
does.
He's available 24/7. He says yes to everything, cancels his plans because she called, and he bends over backward to avoid any conflict. So why does this guy, the picture of accommodation, always end up ghosted or stuck in the friend zone? It makes zero logical sense.
Well, what's so fascinating is that the psychology here just runs counter to pure logic. You see, respect isn't, it's not something you can buy with endless effort.
It's commanded.
It's commanded through integrity, through boundaries.
Right.
I mean, look at the exchange. When a man lacks the courage to ever say no, his yes becomes worthless.
Worthless how?
It carries no weight. It's not a choice he's making, it's just a default setting of submission. Or even worse, it's just approval seeking.
I see the difference. So you're saying if you always agree, your agreement just doesn't mean anything. But how do you draw that line between being genuinely kind, which is a good thing, and falling into that toxic nice guy trap?
That distinction is the entire game. It really is. Being nice is external. It's about seeking approval. We actually call this a covert contract.
A covert contract. What's
The
that?
unspoken deal is, I will be perfect, I will never inconvenience you, and in return, you have to give me affection.
Right. And when she doesn't.
Exactly. When she doesn't grant that affection, the nice guy gets so resentful because his secret transaction failed. But being kindness is internal. It's about character. You can be an incredibly kind, generous person and still say no to something that violates your time and your values.
Like covert contract idea is huge.
Yeah.
That really highlights the whole transactional thing that just leads to disappointment. You know what? If you've ever realized you were operating on one of those, just drop the word contract in the comments. I'm so curious to see.
It really is all about being grounded. If a man is constantly sacrificing his own integrity just to please her, he's subconsciously training her that his values are less important than her moods.
But hold on, let's be real here. Doesn't setting strong boundaries, like saying, no, I have plans tonight, or no, I'm not canceling my workout, doesn't that risk turning you into the one thing men are terrified of becoming? The jerk.
And that's the friction point, right? That's what we need to talk about. You're not being a jerk, you are being unshakable. When you set a boundary, you're not attacking your partner.
Okay.
You're protecting your frame, your sense of self. Think of it like this. Your boundaries are the walls of the sanctuary you build for the relationship.
The walls of the sanctuary. I like that.
If a woman can move you with a minor conflict, or even just a pout, how can she possibly trust you to stand firm when life gets really tough?
So the boundary isn't about restricting her. It's actually a promise of safety for her.
Exactly. It shows that you have an internal structure. The absence of that frame is frankly terrifying. It means there's no anchor when things get unstable.
Wow. Okay, that sanctuary wall metaphor is incredibly powerful. And if boundaries are the wall, then I guess leadership is the blueprint for where you build it. So let's tackle that term, masculine leadership. A lot of people hear that and think it's outdated, maybe even toxic in our era of gender equality. So what does leadership actually look like in, 2025 without being a toxic trope?
We absolutely have to reframe it because it's so often misinterpreted as dominance. Think of it like a dance. A waltz. If both people try to lead at the same time, they just step on each other's toes, they crash. But if no one leads, they just stand there awkwardly and all the energy dies.
Yeah.
Leadership in this context isn't dominance, it's intentionality.
Intentionality.
It's taking responsibility for the direction, for the experience.
So it's about, what, reducing the cognitive load on your partner? Like decision-making relief.
Precisely. We live in an age of just massive decision fatigue. For a successful modern woman, a CEO, a manager, someone who makes critical decisions all day, the greatest gift a man can give her in the evening is a space where she doesn't have to decide a single thing.
That makes so much sense.
She wants to feel that trust, you know? That her partner is competent and grounded enough to just handle the frame of their time together so she can finally relax into being herself.
Okay, give me a real-world example of that, because that sounds like a huge relief.
Okay, contrast the weak question that adds a burden. What do you want for dinner? I don't care, you pick.
Oh, I hate that.
Right, it just passes the mental load to her. Now, contrast that with the lead. I know you had a brutal day, so I'm taking you to that Italian place you mentioned last week. Be ready at 7. One is a demand for a decision. The other is a service. It's an act of love. When leadership is framed as taking responsibility for the experience, it becomes profoundly attractive.
You know, this idea of decision fatigue is huge, and we just don't talk about it enough. If this is hitting home for you, really, share this deep dive. Let us know in the comments how that mental load actually impacts your relationship.
It's a game changer when you understand it.
Okay, so let's talk about the mission. We hear this all the time, that for a man to be truly magnetic, he needs to be on a mission. Is that just code for, like, having a good job or making a lot of money?
Not at all. Far from it. A mission is a purpose that is greater than the relationship itself.
Greater than the relationship.
Yes, it's the thing that gets him out of bed when everything else, including the relationship, might be falling apart. And this is so vital because when a man has a mission, his world can't revolve entirely around his partner. If she becomes the center of your universe, you inevitably become needy, reactive, suffocating.
So the mission creates a healthy distance and stops that self-sabotaging neediness.
Absolutely. She isn't looking for a man whose life is just a blank slate for her to fill. She wants to join a man who is already going somewhere. Psychology actually supports this with the self-expansion model.
Which is?
Focusing on your own goals brings more life, more value, and more momentum into the relationship.
That's a fascinating way to put it. So by prioritizing your external purpose, you actually increase your internal value to the relationship. Which means if you're always available, always agreeable, your time and your opinion, they just lose value.
Precisely.
So by saying no to protect that mission, you're proving your discipline and your worth.
You're showing you are a man of commitment and action.
Yeah.
That consistency, that sense of purpose, that's the foundation that deep respect is built on.
Which brings us to conflict. If you are this grounded leader, how do you handle a serious disagreement without, losing respect by exploding or losing integrity by just shutting down?
Conflict is the ultimate test of the frame, of that integrity you've built. A leader has to stay grounded and practice what we call emotional regulation.
Emotional regulation.
He has to be the emotional anchor, not letting her turbulence, which might be totally justified, dictate his response. And this is hard work. It means overriding that fight or flight response.
But wait, how? How do you do that when your buttons are being pushed? Where is the line between regulating your emotions and just shutting down the conversation or, invalidating your feelings?
The difference is transparency and holding the boundary of civility. In the heat of the moment, the response has to be measured and firm. It could sound like, I understand you're incredibly upset and I do want to hear all of it, but we aren't going to discuss this until we can both speak calmly.
Okay.
Or, I hear your point, but I need 20 minutes to process this so I can respond with intention, not just reaction. Key is consistency. When she sees that her worst emotional storm doesn't knock you off your feet, she feels profoundly safe.
And that stability allows her to be vulnerable later.
Exactly. That's the core of real trust.
Okay, if you find yourself reacting poorly in conflict, we do have resources on emotional regulation linked in the show notes. It's a fundamental skill. But let's move on to something more provocative from our sources. Emotional ownership.
Yes.
That is a loaded, controversial phrase. How is that not about property or control? Because that's the immediate fear people have.
This is where we have to be so careful and define our terms precisely. In this context, ownership doesn't mean property. It means claim, the certainty of a deep connection, It's the feeling of emotional safety, the end of the guessing game in the relationship. It's when a man is so present, so certain of their bond, and so protective of her energy that she feels emotionally claimed.
So it's about him creating such a secure, consistent container for her that she can finally let go.
Exactly. In an age of hyper-independence, that deep primal desire to just belong to someone, to fully surrender your guard to a trusted partner, is still incredibly powerful. Her surrender is an active choice to trust his consistency.
Okay, but we have to put a guardrail here. What happens if a man misuses that power? If he uses that claim to stifle her growth or isolate her, that's where it turns abusive.
Absolutely. Integrity is the non-negotiable part of this. If he uses his power to protect and empower her, to hold the space so she can be more herself, the dynamic thrives. If he uses it for control or ego to make her smaller, that's abuse. The entire system requires profound character.
That distinction claim is safety versus control as ego. It leads perfectly into the ultimate boundary we found, the willingness to walk away. Why is that walk away power so magnetic?
Because it proves that the man has a backbone, not just a wishbone. The sources are crystal clear on this. The man who is terrified of losing her will eventually lose her.
Why?
Because his standards are lower than his desperation. A woman needs to know that you will not stay where your core values are habitually violated.
It's the ultimate expression of self-worth. You stay because you choose to be there, not because you have to be.
It creates a groundedness that's so rare. If your happiness is 100% dependent on her mood, you are enslaved to her emotions. By being willing to walk away, you're saying, I love you doubly, but I love the truth and my integrity more.
We've talked a lot about the initial spark.
Yeah.
But how does this all evolve into devotion over, decades? A marriage isn't just a series of tests.
The dynamic deepens profoundly because the testing phase is over. Devotion is what happens when a woman has seen you lead through the fire. She's seen you set boundaries when it was hard, uphold your mission when you wanted to quit, and regulate your emotions under stress. That unshakable loyalty is built on the bone-deep knowledge that you are a man of unshakable character.
And the roles achieve a real synergy. Her surrender becomes her strength.
Exactly. She becomes the heart of the home, the emotional life, while he remains the consistent, intentional head, the direction setter. When both lean into that natural polarity and trust each other's domain, the relationship becomes a source of power the world can't break.
Okay, so if a man is hearing all this and realizing he's been stuck in that nice guy space, how does he start this transition tomorrow without it feeling fake or, forced?
You start small. You don't just wake up and try to dominate the relationship. You start by owning your own day.
Your own day.
Stop asking for permission for things that don't require it, where to eat lunch, when you're going to the gym. Make small, low-stakes decisions with certainty, with intention. It's a muscle. It gets stronger with use. And you will see the shift in her immediately because she won't need to test you as much when she sees your consistency.
We have covered so much ground today, from the nice guy trap to the safety of emotional regulation. If you want more deep dives like this, the kind that ignore the politically correct noise and just focus on what genuinely works, make sure you're subscribed right now.
To synthesize it all, attraction isn't purely logical, it's biological and psychological. The blueprint for a deep connection is built on earned respect, authenticity, and rock-solid boundaries. The real power comes from being grounded in who you are, not from trying to control your partner.
And this taps into that central paradox of enduring love, right? The tension between security and freedom that Esther Perel talks about. The greatest gift a man can give is the freedom for a woman to be her full, messy, authentic self in the presence of a man she can truly trust to hold the frame and guide the dance.
When you remove all that superficial noise and focus on that essence, that consistency, safety, and trust, that's when you discover the profound peace that defines lifelong devotion.
So are you leading your life or are you just reacting to it? Comment below. What's one boundary you've set that truly changed your relationship for the better? Until next time, stay strong, stay authentic, and lead with purpose.